Chokma, hello. I'm John Hampton, the Executive Director and CEO at the Mackenzie Art Gallery, and the co-curator, along with Leolia Shragi of Pasapkedjinawong, la rivière qui passe entre les rochers, the river that passes through the rocks. Pasapkedjinawong gathers artists from across Turtle Island in the Great Ocean who examine how languages survive, adapt to, exceed, and resist frameworks of colonial violence and repression. The show considers languages and cultures as living systems akin to rivers and other bodies of water, exploring what happens when their customary flow is interrupted or impeded or diverted through outside forces. The exhibition draws its title from Caroline Monet's monumental sculpture, The Flow Between Hard Places. This concrete sculpture was created through 3D printing the waveforms of Elder Rose Wawate Bodwin saying the Anishinaabe-Moan word, Pasapkedjinawong. It stands at the entrance to the show, signaling the flow of bodies, concepts, and words, while also acting as an obstruction placed directly in the middle of that flow. The waves that our words create in the air that surround us can reverberate across time, memorialized and made solid through art, writing, and memory. This work, Titiritiawatangi, is by Maori artist Nico Hinden. Nico's been credited with reawakening the Maori practice of making ote, or paper mulberry bark cloth, through meticulous research and mentorship with expert kapa makers in Hawaii. Since returning to Aotearoa, New Zealand, Hinden has rendered her own signature visual language, which interprets the color palette, iconography, and conceptual focus of Ahua Tutora, customary Maori art frameworks.
So this piece shows the placement of stars on the day that Te Tiriti o Waitangi was signed on February the 6th, 1840. So if you imagine this is the horizon, Pairangi, these are the star houses. This is both east and west, and these are the stars rising out of the horizon.
Hinden represents significant constellations present at the moment this new relationship was formed, preceding the land wars that calcified the settler incursions against continuous Maori governance of territory. Lee Tab by Cathy Mattis holds space for Michif speakers, knowledge keepers, and artists. It extends the concept of the Métis kitchen table, which has been explored by Cathy over the course of many years as a site where loved ones are fed, embroidery and beadwork is completed, where language is learned, and where political and cultural scheming occurs. Viewers are invited to api sit for their own conversations and cultural schemes. The words at each seating alludes to the relationships created around kitchen tables in Métis households across the prairies. Joyti Arkand's Kia Taku BU series offers 4 images from the artist's family archives, accompanied by text in Nahiawewen, the Plains Cree language, drawn from words spoken by her mentors throughout their lifelong process of language learning. These potent statements demonstrate conflicting parameters for cultural authenticity, strength, and recovery, coupled with the anxieties and struggles inherent in language learning in the aftermath of Indian residential schools. In the face of these enduring legacies of assimilation and genocide, Arkand offers Kia Taku, BU, a profoundly straightforward sentiment imbued with all the complexity, history, and potential of your being. Derangement by Carl Trahan charts the movement of a single word as it translates between English and French, moving mechanically through accepted translations from a French-English dictionary and looking at the transformation and movement that happens as we move between the worldviews and languages. The titular word dérangement is a reference to Le Grand Dérangement, the forced expulsion of the Acadians from what is now known as Atlantic Canada. The word and the map shows this movement of trauma and of resilience that happens from this dark point in Canadian history. And beyond looking at federal bilingualism, it looks at an important part of our history and maps a kinship between Acadians and the Cajun culture, which is now well established in Louisiana. Rashad Newsom's shade composition, Screen Tests, is a study and celebration of African American vernacular gestures created by Black women and queer communities. With each new iteration of his live performance, Shade Compositions, Rashad gathers screen tests with local communities, documenting performers as they perform a vocabulary of gestures, adding their own individualistic elements and new insights to the artist's research. These intimate portraits transform stereotypical gestures into a growing archive of new forms of bodily communication, resistance, and community building, born in the underground ballroom scenes and the more mainstream vernaculars that they have influenced. Inyaihi, Telling Rock, by Kite and Devin Roneberg, interrogates the relationships between human and non-human entities and intelligences. In Oglala Lakota belief structures, materials such as metals, rocks, and minerals can communicate of their own volitions. Attending to the hearing and listening capabilities of non-human entities allows a method of engagement built upon mutual respect and responsibility. As Inyahiihi speaks, you may respond by bending and moving its braids, affecting the sound it makes. Inyaihi listens to the changes in its own voice and generates a response in lights and sound. In Garuda Mimala, My Connections, by Gutnyara Yunupinyu, he identifies his position relative to the Garudu kinship systems of the moieties, or social groups and clans that structure Yolnu society. Through these signs in Yolnu Sign Language, Yunupinyu signals the responsibilities to clans and territories in and around his territory, where he lives and works as an editor and camera operator. These signs outline how you are related to help you use appropriate terms of address and clan-specific vocabulary. This form of signing is traditionally learned from an early age by all populations, and it is used to communicate at a distance while hunting and at other times when silence is needed, and it's also a primary form of communication with deaf community members such as the artist. Yunupinyu is presented here in multiple forms, signaling all his relations and expressing ancestral lineages through a language that lives within his body and the broader spirit of his kinship networks. Outside of the exhibition, Patrick Cruz's Stepmother Tongue greets the viewers as they enter and leave the gallery space. Stepmother Tongue is an evolving series of installations utilizing an invented textual language. The artist blends multiple cultural and symbolic references that contribute to his identity formation. This work is grounded in the pre-colonial script of Baybayin, merged with astrological and other personal references. Suppressed during the Spanish and American colonial regimes throughout the archipelago today called the Philippines, Baybayin is undergoing a revival of use and transmission in the diaspora and in the homeland. The highly gestural installation is a map of personal migration and fragmented belonging, linking ancestral knowledge with other cultural influences and lived experience to create an intensely personal language that is common to the diasporic existence and cultural belongings created today. Together, these works represent a continuing life force of new and ancestral ways of knowing and viewing the world. They map multiple currents that flow past the seemingly monolithic domains of colonial languages to expand our understanding and imagination of histories and futures of culture and languages across territories.